Welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we are serving up the basics for Hearthstone Improvement. This is episode 158, and I am joined by Blob of Tar enjoyer Pylet. Pylet, how are you tonight?
Doing well, surrounded by cats apparently, but doing well.
And we have a special returning guest, one of our favorites, one of our almost honorary co-hosts at this point, World 8. World 8, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, as always.
And we appreciate it. What have you been doing in Hearthstone?
Well, there was a big buff patch, so tried a whole bunch of stuff. I've always been waiting for Crew DH to have a moment to shine, and the buffs were actually really good for that deck. So I was jamming a bunch of that. Like, Emergency Meeting is actually an incredible card at 1 mana. Should have been printed at that, plus the new buff guy and stuff like that. But just saw like tons and tons of Warrior, and any kind of like board-based deck was struggling into Warrior. So I went back to Egglock, which was really great because all the Discover Hunters had disappeared, and I was seeing a constant stream of Warriors and like unrefined stuff, and I was doing great. And then the meta kind of discovered that Blob Demon Hunter was still very, very good, and then that sort of turned. But then the Sky, like the new Arcwing buff, turned out to be also really good. Builds started popping up for that, so I've been playing a bunch of that. Kind of the drunk version, right, with the Divine Brews, and I actually put Life-Saving Aura in the deck and the Story of the Waygate. So what you do is that you generate a whole bunch of 1 mana stuff from other classes. It doesn't have to be from other classes, but it's generated. You Story of the Waygate, and now you get a handful of 0 mana stuff. And those Arcwing Pilots, when they have Divine Shields or the sunscreens on them, like the sunscreens make them last. Like 1 Divine Shield 5/5 Arcwing Pilot is really hard to remove and does a lot of damage if it sticks around for more than 1 turn. So I've been jamming a bunch of that. But I am also playing Egglock still. What I did is I got so frustrated that I put 2 Royal Librarians in the deck. Yes, I am fairly embarrassed to do this, but I am just obliterating people with that deck again. Because if a Demon Hunter's Blavatar is shut down, it actually just flails like a fish on the ground. It is so satisfying. And I get to beat up all the Warriors. So it's just kind of good vibes right now. But I can't wait until, was it like 3 weeks from now? We got a very exciting time in about 3 weeks when we get the Brawl and the Reverts and stuff, and just trying to find something to do until then.
That's fair. And did you tell Zacho you were playing Librarians?
I did not. Actually, it was hard for me to get a word in edgewise last podcast that we did.
Not surprising. Pylet, what have you been up to inside the world of Hearthstone?
My vibes have been a bit of the opposite of World 8's. So haven't had a ton of time to play, and then kind of did at the end of the week and over the weekend, and just instantly tilted at every blob of tar that I saw, and every Death Knight, and just everything that was constantly happening. I've been winning. I'm just so done with so many of the cards. So it is what it is. It's the normal pre-rotation stuff for me. But I did try to bounce around between some of the new and improved decks with the buffs that have been going around. Played most with the Libram Paladin that No Hands was playing, and kind of took from him, and that's been doing well for me. I'm 3 wins away from 1,000 Paladin wins, so I was trying to get that in before the podcast and ran out of time because my opponents were playing really slow. So we'll probably finish that up. I've been having fun, but not much success with the Zoo Demon Abduction Ray deck. You get some really goofy turns sometimes with Abduction Ray, but it's hit and miss. I think I'm figuring out a little bit more, but it's a Zoo deck with a lot of refill and a lot of late game kind of refill, but it doesn't really have much to then end the game if you fall behind on board. So that kind of struggles a little bit. And then I did have 1 win with Geminator posted a Quest Mage that use some of the buff cards, and I did gross things with that because I ended up completing my Eudora quest. Was the first thing that I finished after getting the weapon equipped. So I ended up with 3 12-12, 3 12-12, Stealth, Wind Fury, Divine Shield, all of that, because I got the Gnomish Swiss Army knife on it and then 2 copies of it. And they didn't want to play the game anymore. So that was good enough to win. 77 damage out of nowhere is very good on turn 6, I learned. So other than that, just kind of chilling and getting through. Tito and I did have a bonkers duos game. Is it Friday night or something like that? Thursday.
Last night, I think, right? Wasn't it last night?
It wasn't.
No, 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. 2 nights.
Last night was the bad night. Last night we paid the price for that really good game, but just utterly high rolled of me getting 7 minions in the shop all the time, getting a Drakari on board the same turn that you passed me a Fellbat, and we just steamrolled the lobby from there. I was getting plus like 600 on my board every turn.
It was kind of gross. And also, you go ahead. We just, go ahead.
I was going to let you take it if you wanted to.
No, you're victorious, please.
So Tito and I had the Battle of the Podcast for Coin Concede Listener Series, which I did end up taking 2-0, despite, sending tilted messages every time Blobatar got played and copied, because you had Zinashari on board, you coined it out into Blob on curve, into top decking the second Blob when it reopened on turn 6. I was not a happy person, so I still got there, but I was not a happy person that turn.
Yeah, you rolled me that first game. I thought I came back in that second game when I got those Ziliaxes down, but you just found a kind of a way to get through it.
I knew that I was a controlling demon Zoolock at that point, because I knew that you were out of damage because you used up Zinajari and you pulled Elise with Oaken Summons. So I'm like,
of course
if I don't die to what's on board, there's nothing from hand. I'm like, Owl does nothing. You played your Drake out and couldn't copy it. So I'm like, I just have to survive this board and I'm fine. And I got there.
Yep. And aside from losing the Battle of the Podcast hosts, I have had very good success with Triple Unholy Death Knight. That's been a lot of fun. I've been bouncing between that. I tried a World 8 Druid that you gave me, a Chrono Druid. It might not be your list, but you handed it to me. And it was okay. I went back to my old list because I like it better. But, just like, it's comfort. But the problem I'm having is I kind of tried to do the same thing that World 8 did and tried to play with some of the buffs, and I was excited for it. But we ran into one thing. So we had talked last week about Hemet, right? So I decided I'll try to make a Hemet deck. And I was like, hey, Story of Carnassus plus the Fabled cards plus Hemet, profit, right? Like, we got something going there. And it actually did really well until about turn 7, where every single deck I seemed to play against played this new card called Blackhorn, which just totally decimated my deck. And I do not know why this card was printed. I think they were like, hey, let's make some things really cheap so that way we can just get rid of them with this card. I think that's what the goal was. It was like, hey, we're gonna buff everything so it costs a lot less, but then we can just wipe it out with this one card. I try to stay positive about anything. Like, I think Ziliax was a well-designed card. I think it was interesting. I think it was pushing the limits. It was something brand new. I cannot wait for it to rotate, but I have zero ill will about it being created. It was a cool concept. It was fun. Now it's time to go. It was time to go like a while ago. But I see Blackhorn and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? And I just don't get it. So frustrated with that, but still having fun with anytime I've gotten frustrated while losing, I then have switched back to Unholy Death Knight, and I came in early at Legend, and we're still top 2,500 or something like that. So we're trying to maintain and try to do better than we did last month, and that's all we're gonna hope for. So, but now we're about to get into the weird things. World 8, what have you been doing outside of the game?
Outside the game, work. It's like been kind of like calm before the storm with work, and tomorrow's gonna be pretty crazy. We were waiting for like another company to basically finish what they're working on so that we could like get our connections up, stuff like that. So been taking it kind of easy. Still getting through this snow. Like we got dumped on with snow and ice, and it hasn't moved until yesterday. So it's been kind of miserable. But just keeping quiet, keeping inside, playing a bunch of board games with the boys, trying to get them more into that side of gaming. So there's a lot of fun things out there. Not that when we were kids, it was like Monopoly and stuff, but the game selection now is much more diverse, and there's all kinds of really cool things. Like we played for example, I played this game that's like it seems like a derivative of Guess Who with my son today, called like Deducto or something. Cute, but it's different. And like it was fun and it was fast, and stuff like that. Just keeping cozy and warm inside, really.
Fair. How about yourself, Pylet? I know you've been a little busy.
Yeah, bouncing off that, there's so many good like different games, board games out there, like you said, compared to what we grew up with. So I have more games than I should for how little I play them, but normally I take bags of them with me anytime we go for family stuff and know which ones work for depending on who's playing at the time. But yeah, been kind of ramping up our rehearsals for our school musical that I help with. So kind of losing some time with that. Did finish up pep band and basketball band, so that's one thing that's checked off the list, thankfully. Just to lose that time to rehearsals for musical, but it is what it is. Outside of that, enjoying the heat wave that we've had here in the Midwest and all the snow finally almost melting. It's like 60 degrees today. I was shocked. I wasn't ready for it. So I think we're supposed to go back down to 30 by the end of the week because, of course. But yeah, then it was a pre-release weekend for the new Lorcana set, Winter Spell. So I was only able to make one event because I was working during the other two that were close by. But built an okay sealed deck for what I had. Ended up going 2-1 in the event. So had a lot of fun. Got to play some new cards. Still have some more packs to open from what I pre-ordered, but I did hit one Enchanted, one of the chase cards I was actually really wanting because I love the Enchanteds from the set. I did post that in the Bread and Butter Discord. But right now it's the second most expensive Enchanted from the set, which is like Lorcana's version of Signature. So happy with that. Happy with the legendaries I've pulled so far, and looking forward to building new decks there and hopefully actually having time to play the set.
It's funny, you said you have the warm thing up to where temperatures up to 60, but then by the end of the week, it'll be down to 30s. We're warning have a warm streak up to 30s, and that feels good. But it's supposed to get cool. It's supposed to have a storm at the end of the week, but you never know. It's been what it is. My friend Justin is in Galapagos, however you say it, Galapagos, whatever, some warm place. And he asked me to look after his chickens, and of course it snowed, so I had to like shovel his driveway and shovel a path, which I don't mind doing. He's done plenty for me in the past, but it was just kind of annoying. And it's like, oh, it's now I have to do it again. But that is what it is. Outside of that, just work, normal things. I still working on getting my shoulders getting better. I had another shot put into it. It was funny because I went bowling last night with some people from work, and I bowled like 4.5 games on my bad shoulder, but it was fine. And then again, shot yesterday or Friday, and it's really sore, but it's also doing a lot better. I have a lot more range of motion. I'm very happy with that. So hopefully we're on the mend there. Now, of course, I got some tooth pain, which came back. So I've been putting off a root canal, so I probably need to go do that. But we don't want to do that because that costs money and time, and and whatever. It's the last time I had a root canal was easy. It didn't really hurt or anything. That was just kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah. And outside of that, I rolled credits on Hades 2. I played a ton of that. It was really, really fun. I just finished, in fact, right before this podcast, after the game, after Pylet quickly decimated me in our matches. I was like, I have time for one more run. So we did our first 10 fear run. It's like heat is now fear or something. So good. And we're trying. I do have God mode on. I will admit that because I'm old and don't have I have Boomer APM. But we're getting there. I'm gonna probably start a new run now that I've gone through the story and do it without that and see how far I can get. And now that I've kind of like learned, I stick with the blades, the night blades or something.
The
and
dual daggers or whatever it is.
Yeah,
thing.
the dual daggers. I haven't really branched out to a bunch of different weapons in aspects, but I should. But for now, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. But
I miss my shield from Hades 1. I do feel like Hades 2 is less APM, hit buttons as fast as you can compared to Hades 1. Hades 2 is a little bit more tactical sometimes, depending on your weapon and what you end up getting.
You would think so, but I pretty much just mash buttons. I have no idea what's going on. I just kind of go tap, 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 tap. I try to point in the right direction, and I'm constantly hitting Q and left and right, and sometimes holding them. And then I'm like, hey, I have a hex, and I'd press hex, and nothing would do anything. And I'd be like, oh, that was kind of disappointing. But actually, I have figured out how to make hex work for you, and I've had some good runs where it's like you have polymorph, which polymorphs a bunch of things, or you get like this really big explosion from above. It takes like 4 seconds,
Yes.
but then it like you can combine it with like I had it combined with, is it Hestia is the fire lady, and it just like would burn everybody at the same time, and it's been fun. The story's interesting. The way they've explained kind of like how you continue the loop after you roll credits is interesting. So definitely go check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. But this is not what was that?
I need to go back, and you probably should too. They changed the ending with 1.0 or shortly after. There's a different ending that a bunch of people complained about. So they changed like the ending. So it's online somewhere, but I haven't gotten that far to know either of them. But I do remember hearing about that, so that might be interesting to look into.
I like that. I will probably do that right after the show, and that's great. But my name's not Ridiculous Hat, and this is not Hidden Aspects Podcast. So, Pylet, do we have any news this week?
We do have some news, and we're going to start with the most exciting news that we have more cards to talk about. So we had 5 cards that were revealed this past week after the big announcement. So we'll kind of get to those first and then get to the smaller bits of news that we have. So we have a neutral that was revealed sometime early in the week. Altraxion, is that how it's said? Is what I'm guessing.
Altraxion, yeah.
So it is a neutral 6 mana, 6/7 dragon. Battlecry, herald your colossal, reduce Deathwing's cost by 1, and you can also herald to improve this card. So this is for the 6 herald classes that are aligned with Death Knight. And seems strong in the decks that are wanting to herald as well. So to where you in theory can pretty consistently get a couple heralds on this and then get Deathwing down for maybe 8 mana instead of 10, and seems powerful.
Yeah, I like this card. Hopefully it's. I mean, we're not going to see Deathwing in all 11 classes, so at least we're only going to see it in half the decks. This card will be in probably every. If we're playing Heralds and we're playing Deathwing, we're playing this card. This is a no-brainer. This actually gives me a little bit of flashback because in Warcraft, I love the Dragon Soul raid. Not necessarily because it was the best raid, but like personally for me, it was when my guild kind of like took like a jump up, and we started to do heroics and really kind of come together. And this was one of those fights we did like a billion times, and it was a weird fight. It was a fun fight, and yeah, I'm excited for it. nothing too exciting about the card, except it just kind of makes things cheaper, which is fine. World 8, are you ready for some Ultratraxian, whatever?
Ultraxian, sure. I mean, it's first of all, it's a dragon, so more dragon fun. I think it's also important that I think this is how it interacts, right? Like when you herald the colossal, you get the little appendage along on the
Yes.
side, right? So, they have all so far they've revealed those the neutrals, right? The 5 mana, and then this is the 6 mana. So let's say that you do that curve with like the Ragnaros, right? This is all we've seen so far. So the first time, you summon like a little 2/1 Hand of Ragnaros. You follow this on the next turn, and now you've got a 4/2 Hand of Ragnaros that comes with it. So this doesn't have any relevant keywords itself, which is kind of a big deal. It's kind of just like looks at first like a Boulderfist Ogre. But what's important is that it gets a buddy that comes along with it. So, and eventually, and specifically at 6 mana, you've probably heralded twice. Is roughly the estimate. And so you'll get something decent with it. But the most important thing though is that it cheats Deathwing. Like that's the thing, is that if you can get Deathwing down as an 8-cost hero, it is incredible, so much better as a hero card. Like paying 10 for Deathwing, probably gonna happen quite a bit. But this is gonna go in every single Deathwing deck, right? Like there's no reason not to play this. And it's just like, how much of a tempo loss is this gonna be? Well, and we still have a lot of those dragons, right? Like Whelp of the Infinite. We'll still have Blabatar, probably sticky stuff where you might be able to hide behind that for a turn. Again, it's just going to be crucial for getting Deathwing down. And when Deathwing comes down, 12 armor on that thing plus whatever cataclysms you pick are going to swing the board back. So this is going to be a critical piece. We're going to see a lot of this card in any Deathwing deck, and I expect we'll see a lot of Deathwing. So I think we'll see a lot of this guy.
So I have questions about Herald. Do we still Herald even after the Colossus dies? Like, do we still get the appendages?
Good question. I don't know.
My other question is, let's say I'm Hunter and I have the card we're going to talk about next, and I have that Colossus, but then I play something, I play a spell, or I generate something that allows me to either put their Colossus in my deck or in my hand. If I play Herald, do I still just get my appendage? Do I get both appendages? Like, there's a lot of science to be done here, I think.
I don't think you could play the Herald cards in a deck that's not Deathwing. Like you see
Correct.
that little.
No. But I'm saying if I'm playing Hunter and I'm playing against somebody else playing Deathwing, and I somehow take their Titan as well, or Titan, I get a copy of their Colossal somehow in my deck or hand. So now I have my Colossal and their Colossal in my deck. If I play a Herald, do I get both appendages?
You can't play the Herald cards. I don't know what happens if you steal a Herald card. That would be the question. But you can't play Herald cards in the other 5 classes. Because
I'm not
like
talking about the other 5 classes. Forget the other 5 classes. Deathwing versus Deathwing.
Deathwings. That's not what you said. Okay.
No, that's exactly what I said.
But you used Hunter as your example, which is not a Herald class. That's why I think that's why we were confused.
Oh, okay, but you know why? Because I apologize. I thought that Magmar was a Colossal.
No, I mean, it is, but it's not Hunter is not a Herald class.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, I would forget that. I thought Herald was in all the. Yeah, okay, we're good. We're good. Moving on.
Yeah, Herald is not in all classes. It's just in those 6.
I thought all Colossi were heralded. So I was like, all right. I thought it was like you, but yeah, that's weird.
Because even in the card library, like right now, they have the 3 Deathwing Herald cards under Death Knight and not neutral, and not the other ones for now, which is, I'm assuming, part of the reason why we're getting fewer neutrals this set, like they talked about.
Okay. Yeah, we'll work with it. So, but I wonder if you play a Deathwing class versus a Deathwing class, if you get a copy of their Colossal, if you Herald, do you get both appendages or not? Who knows? We'll find out.
Considering it says your Colossal, I'm guessing it copies based on what your hero class is.
All
And my
right.
guess would be,
My assumption.
my guess would also be that if your Colossal dies, you're not heralding anything. It's just you play the card and not, you don't get the little side piece anymore.
I would assume you would, because didn't Invoke for Galakron, if you already played Galakron, if you played an Invoke card, you got the thing.
I didn't play during that time,
But I don't
but
remember.
if that was the behavior, I'm assuming that's consistent.
Yeah, I'm
And then what
guessing it's
happens
going to
if-
play like that.
And then what happens if you play a hero card that's not your hero? That's like you become a druid or whatever like that. Then what happens? I don't know. Lots of weird things are going to happen. I think it's going to be interesting. But anyway, Ultraxian, fun card, interesting. It's nothing exciting, but definitely going to be useful and playable. What's next there, Pylet?
At least for your last question, at least Maestro rotates, so I don't think we'll have to deal with that problem in Standard. Wild, good luck. Have fun.
We still have Deja. You still have Deja Vu and Nightmare Fuel.
Vu. We do,
yeah,
but I don't think we have anything to. I don't think we have any hero cards that we can change classes with now, or will, once rotation happens.
Well, you could Deja Vu Deathwing.
You could. You wouldn't have any herald cards in your deck.
Or just do it the hard way for the low price of 10 mana.
I'm guessing actually you would, because Rogue is a herald class, but I'm guessing that Deathwing works kind of like how Reno did, to where you stay your hero class. I don't know.
Yeah, but Druid has the location. Druid has a location that generates a whole fistful of spells, right? And so you could generate rogue spells from that, right?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah, they generate Deja Vu, and then Druid, which is not normally a Deathwing class.
Always Druid.
Suddenly Tito is very interested in this line of.
How can we get Rycleaver to work with it?
Go to Wild, because it rotates. Anyways, before we go too far down this path, we have the rest of the non-herald Colossals, with the first one being Hunter, which is Magmaw, a 7 mana 2/12 mech beast, Colossal plus 99, and has attack summon any leftover appendages when there is room. And the appendage is Magmaw's body, a 1-cost 2/1, also mech beast. Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion +2 attack. I'm pretty sure that those numbers are right. There were different things the day that this was revealed, but I pulled this from the library. I think that this is the correct one, but just throwing that out there. Some stats were different here and there.
This card's cool. It's definitely unique. You can constantly Colossal 99 summon any leftover appendages when there's room. I mean, obviously, once they kill Magmar, it ends. Yes. But all right. So this is what we got to do. We got to go over Wild. We got to give Magmar immune, and then have somebody play Defile, and see if it goes through all 99.
There's a cap on that. I think it's like 50 or something. It won't. I don't think it'll go through all. Yeah, but it'll do 6 at a time. It would also kill Magma, right? After 12.
Well, no, that's why we have to get immune on Magma somehow.
Oh, immune on Magma, yeah. But there is a cap. Spammy Arcanist actually used to hit that cap, I think, somehow. I forget what that interaction was, but it did cap out at something. Yeah, it was crashing the client, something like that. So they added like a cap of 50 or something, whatever the max damage was at the time. I think it was like Searing Lance or whatever, that like mage spell that does like 50 damage to a minion just for fun. They're like, okay, we're only gonna let Spammy Arcanist get to 50. Yeah, so I mean, so for me, I'll just talk about Magma real quick. So Magma is just like a stat bomb, right? This is 7 mana. You are putting, the 6 tokens plus the main body, so that's 14 attack on the board. Very difficult to get rid of the tokens. You whack a token, its damage goes elsewhere, and the body comes back. So you really have to deal with Magma itself. 12 health is a lot to deal with. There is going to be some removal lingering around that can deal with that. But generally, for most board decks, 12 is a lot to punch through. But fortunately, the two attack is very low, so you just make like maybe 2 trades into this. But the important thing is that the bodies stick around after you've cleared Magma, so you still have like a board in a box, which is always, 7 mana might be a little pricey, but we've definitely seen that have there've been a lot of play out of cards that are boards in a box. It is a little dangerous because you do board lock yourself at the same time, right? You can't play anything else until Magma's dead, right? Because you've got all the bodies. Let's say they want to do something like you want to play a Xavius or something to tutor something else. You can't do that. You're going to be Magma is your plan, and so hopefully 14 damage a turn. It's a lot. It'll get through. One of the other things that I really want to call out, I have no idea what's in this set, or maybe even what's scheduled for the year, but this is another mech beast. I think we might get some kind of magnetized back. This is just wild speculation, because the legendary that they brought back to core was also a mech beast, and I'm just hypothesis here that we've seen mech hunter before. And it is possible that we do get magnetized again this year. Well, that's definitely a big if. But if we do get that, the +2 attack on these bodies, you attach Lifesteal to that, you attach Divine Shield to that, it gets a lot more interesting. Or you put Divine Shield on Magma itself. So mostly board in a box. Great topper for any kind of face hunter deck, right? Like that's just like, okay, I've dealt a ton of damage. Now this is the thing that you've got to deal with, and I'm just going to be hitting you in the face, and hopefully you explode at this point.
Yeah, nope. It's exciting. Now it's not going to work with some buffs and whatever. Like you can't play the sister to buff cards in your deck. This will still be a +2/+1, but there's plenty. It's fine. It's gonna grow quickly. There's no rush or anything on it. That's the only thing that kind of worries me a little bit, is that there's no rush on it. So you play it and there's no immediate board impact outside of it being the board. But yeah, it's got a 2/12. It's going to be hard to remove. The art on it's pretty cool. It's like a train, but an ant kind of thing going. It's big. Pylet, any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's a very interesting card. I think, like Borlate said, kind of a top end of a face hunter might be the spot for it. Just because if the main body doesn't die, you can't play any other minions until it dies, because your board is constantly full with this. So you're either playing spells or hero powering each turn that it's alive outside of that, which face hunter's probably most equipped to do compared to other ones. So it'll be interesting. That's kind of to me, that's the bigger question mark of this card, of like, okay, yeah, we can pass the stats around, but if they just keep, if it goes from one body to the next and then they just kill that one, then you're not banking those stats. Those passed on stats are just constantly dying again. So it'll be interesting to see how effective that really is as the board in the box, and where it kind of fits best. So our Druid Colossal is Wicker Fang, a 6 mana 0/5 Colossal +4. After one of Wicker Fang's legs gains stats, this gains them 2. And the legs are a 0/2 that say at the end of your turn, gain +1/+1. So at minimum, the turn that you play this, if you just slam this on 6, at the end of your turn, you have 4 1/3s and a 4/9 main body. I like the effect. It feels slow.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of your turn, gain a stats. It's not just gaining the ++1/+1. It's gaining it whenever these appendages gain stats. So maybe we're getting some kind of buff, druid of some kind. Play something at the end of the turn, buffs the thing too. I don't know. I think it's interesting, and it doesn't. the effect of Wicker Fang doesn't happen at the end of the turn. The effect of Wicker Fang happens when the leg gains stats. So I'm sure there'll be some shenanigans that they're playing with this guy.
We do have the one spell that's still on standard. At the end of your next turn, I think it is, give all your minions +2/+2 or whatever it is, something like that. Isn't that a? I think that's.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Hatchery Helper is a paladin spell.
Oh, it's paladin.
Paladin.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of those.
Or no, so not Hatchery Helper. That's Hatching Ceremony. Hatchery Helper is the Druid card. That's the 2-mana board buff.
Which does kind of work with us too. But
yeah, so for this card does a lot of things that I like. It snowballs. It's a board in the box. It is a huge threat. The legs are super weak to begin with. So yeah, you really need to pair this with something else. Like I was mentioning, Hatchery Helper gives a nice buff across all the legs, which gives the Wicker Fang a big buff. But this is kind of going back to what Tito mentioned before. This has no relevant keywords on it. No taunt, no rush, nothing. It's just kind of naked stat bomb. But where this gets really interesting to me is the Druid quest from Anguro, right? Where you're trying to fill your board 3 times. Then you get a weapon that's a +2/+2 every swing. So what you ideally want to do, right, is have that weapon equipped when you play Wicker Fang and swing for the +2/+2 immediately, giving Wicker Fang like a ton of stats, giving the legs, making those 2 4s and then become 3 5s at the end of turn. And the whole thing is way more difficult to handle. If you don't have the quest finished, this is 5 bodies. You'll probably finish the quest, or you'll at least get another tick of the quest. So that really ties well together. Again, this is another situation where if you have a taunt on board already that's pretty sticky, Flavatar, and you let this go for a turn or two, it gets out of control. If you can follow this up, even if 2 of the legs die or something like that with an overheat, another big buff. The Wicker Fang itself just becomes a very, very big minion. Now, that's the big caveat, though, is that it's just a big minion and it doesn't really do anything other than just hit your opponent in the head. We've seen a lot of big minions come and go when they don't have any keywords and just have no impact. Grom the World Eater was just buffed. 3-mana Hunter 12/12, and it actually comes online in 2 turns now, and it doesn't really have an impact on the game. Like it's King Mukla, 3-mana 5/6, like huge butt. Really early on in the game, and it's just not that impactful. So we'll see if this is enough of a stat bomb. I love these kind of Druid stat bomb cards, so I'll definitely be playing it. I think the best pairing is with the Druid quest, and you just have to see if that deck is viable or not.
Well, that, and plus you want to coin. We're losing. Never mind. We're losing New Heights. Maybe we're getting some new ramp outside of the aura. So, but you want to ramp and get this down on turn 4 if you can, or something like that. So, we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting. So far, they're both the first 2 we looked at have no immediate board impact. Like we said, that's the only worry I have. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be very impactful or strong. It just means that it's not like Egg, when they buffed Egg, they gave the guy taunt, right? And that changed everything. So the keywords do matter, and we'll see what happens. But cool looking, looks fun. The little guy trying to chop his legs off in the leg picture is pretty cool. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So our next Colossus is for Mage, Volcanus, 7-mana 4/8 elemental, colossal +2. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all other minions. And the appendages are 2-mana 1/4 elementals, Plume of Volcanus. Whenever this takes damage, get a random fire spell. It costs 3 less. So, I've seen so many kind of mixed reactions as people were immediately reacting and then thinking it's just like, well, we do have these things in standard now, and they might be leaning towards like a fire spell direction. I think that this is one that we'll need to really see the rest of the set to know how impactful it's going to be and how much we care about having discounted fire spells. I wanted to look at what the pool will look like, because we do get rid of quite a few expensive ones with rotation, including like Supernova, and I think Firelands Portal was rotating for core set as well. So it'll just be interesting to see if, because this is most likely a do very little on turn 7, and turn 7 is very dangerous to not do very much on, I feel like, because two damage to the board most likely isn't doing a whole lot unless you're blowing up the second half of Blobs of Tars. That is fantastic. But 7 mana to get a couple just kind of fire spells and kind of do a little damage to the board might be a little slow unless we're really getting some good stuff to go with it.
Yeah, I think that without knowing what the cards we're getting are, this card is hot garbage. This doesn't do enough. But then again, once if the pool, it's going to be a much smaller pool after rotation. If we get some banger fire spells, that might change everything. But as of right now, I'm like this. So far, this is the Colossal that has excited me the least, and I've seen Priest. So, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, it's turn 7, 2 damage to the board. It doesn't really matter a ton. You do have the Seer, which when you take damage, it gets +2 spell damage. Maybe there's going to be something there where you can kind of figure something out. I don't know. But as of right now, it's two fire spells for 3 less is nice, but I don't think it's that impactful. And plus, it happens at the end of your turn, so it's not like you can play this. It doesn't play it and then do the damage, and then you have those fire spells that turn. It's you play this the end of your turn, things go boom, you have spells for next turn. It feels too slow and clunky, but again, we'll see. World 8, what do you think?
So, when I look at this card, there's a few things going on here. 2 damage is not a lot of damage to the board. 3 damage would be pretty significant. Like, I think we'd all be pretty comfortable in saying, "Oh yeah, this has some pretty big impact," because we can think of things like Magtherion, which is constantly doing 3 damage to the board. Also goes face. This doesn't go face. It's a little weird. I guess that's probably for balance purposes. This seems like it's slightly under-tuned. What you're looking at here, really, though, is how good are the fire spells. You're pretty much paying for itself, right? You're getting 2 random fire spells. You're getting a discount of 3 each to remove the appendages. Like, even if you remove the main body, the appendages still keep their keywords. So if they each take a hit, you've roughly gotten 4 fire spells for 3 less. So that's pretty good value. One of the things, I played a whole bunch of Twist, right? And so one of the formats in Twist that they kept going back to was this very slow, classic looking format. And in that format, Accolade of Pain was super important. You're so starved for card draw that every deck was running Accolade of Pain. So when I look at this, I'm like, okay, well, how good is Accolade of Pain in this format? Right? Like, how desperate are we going to be for card draw? I don't know if we're going to be that desperate, but if we look at other draw options in Mage right now, it's Smoldering Grove, Divination you probably can't play, Arcane Intellect, whatever. Conjure Bookkeeper is a solid card, but it's Kindred, so very conditional. Fragment of Nothing, who knows what we can do with that card. It's there's not a lot of draw going into rotation here, other than specifically Grove, which you can actually hit with this. So a lot of things that feels very low impact. The question is really, do you want to just generate a whole bunch of random fire spells? So like Pylet said, if the fire set is really strong for this expansion or even the next expansion, the stocks for this go very high. Unfortunately, right now, Mage has got 2 fire secrets, so that kind of stinks. But you still got some decent things in there. 1 minor fireball, fine, stuff like that. Or usually you get a whole bunch of burn in the fire spell school. So we'll see what the rest of the set looks like. but it's really just like how much value do you want to get out of this card? And it's 7 mana, seems like a tad high. But it's a very hard card to evaluate without any context for the rest of the set.
Yeah, for sure. So looking at, obviously we don't have what the new fire spells are, but almost every single fire spell that will be going into next year that we currently have in standard costs 3 or less. So whatever you're getting is very likely to be free, or I think the most expensive one that's sticking around costs 5, and that's Story of Sulfurous. So because it's random, so it can be from any class. So most likely what you're getting is free. And we also do keep Inferno Herald, which is an elemental. After you cast a fire spell, get a random elemental and reduce its cost by 3. So it might be something of survive, 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 and then do a bunch of stuff on turn 7 and see what happens. Or 8. Sorry, this costs 7. I wanted to buff it to 6 and make it to where it could do the stuff on turn 7. I'm thinking ahead for a couple of weeks after the expansion, maybe. But that there might be something there, because Mage is, typically has something that's a little bit controlling. We're kind of losing a bunch of those tools with Fleet Skater and all the Protoss stuff, but there might be something there.
Yeah, no, and it's also not a ton of stuff, right? Like it's not like you're playing Supernova for where 8 mana you get a handful of 1/1 1 mana fire spells. You're getting 2 fire spells that are 3 less. It's not a whole lot, and it's not discover, it's random. So and plus now, if you get a random fire spell, random that includes other classes, right? Since it's not discover.
Yes.
So now we're talking shaman. Now we're talking whatever. So
I'll take
that
any
probably
of the
makes
shaman
it worth.
ones. I'm happy with the shaman ones.
Sure, but you get what I mean. It's like you can't bank on just the ones that are in the mage. So it's, I don't know. We'll see.
A free lava flow feels pretty good for that possible deck. So,
all right.
anyways,
so let's move on to the next one, which is
more.
weird.
The Black Blood, which is the Priest Colossal, 7 mana for 8, Colossal +3. And the main body reads: after you restore health to a character, attack a random enemy minion. And the appendages are 1/2s. At the end of your turn, restore 3 health to a random damage friendly character. So if there is likely a damage character on board at the end of your turn, it'll restore health. Black Blood will attack something and keep doing that as long as they are healing things, which should happen because then it'll heal at least the Black Blood after it attacks. It's no behemoth, but it feels I like it as a nice little stat bomb plus board clear style thing like Behemoth was. Doesn't have lifesteal, which was also a big thing for Behemoth, but I think that out of the 4 that we've talked about today, I think that this is the one that's most likely to see the most play.
Oh, I disagree, but World 8, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't read this card or understand the situation correctly. I think Pylet just explained it pretty well, which is you play Black Blood, you've probably got some damage on you. The first body is going to heal one of your minions, one of your phases, and so blood is going to bonk into one of your opponent's minions. The next body likely to heal Black Blood itself, then it bonks the next thing, and so it could, probably going to be hitting 3 things the turn comes into play. I mean, this might be a suicide run for the Black Blood, but it also might be 12 damage AoE or 9 health, right? That's going to recur the next turn. I think it's still pretty weak, but that mechanism is important to understand with the ordering. I think that the bodies could have easily been 1/3 or 1/4 even. So this seems like it was a little bit too cautious. I don't want this to be particularly good, right? I don't want my opponents to be playing this card and just being like, well, I'm just gonna heal, heal, heal. Thanks for everything else. And it's terrible in any kind of like control mirror. Like that would probably actually be the main reason that this doesn't get run is like you really have to see an aggressive format for this to make sense, or a burn heavy format. That does not strike me as where they want to be going with the game. So I think you'd really have to find a very specific meta where this is good. Where Behemoth was just, yeah, it was a stat bomb too, but it also just kind of, it was such a big attack and butt that you could reliably have it survive whatever it hit, and make it to the next turn. Where this is a 4/8, doesn't necessarily kill everything. Like this just might run into some random dragon one time and then die, right? And then you've got all these appendage, like yeah, because a lot of dragons will probably clear the 4/8, or 3 health is not gonna, it'll survive 1. So I don't really see this seeing a lot of play. I think this was a little bit undertuned.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I thought that there's opportunity here, like with the theming, like the Black Blood's body is a big ooze. Like when the tendrils die, maybe the Black Blood could have absorbed them and gained the stats. Maybe instead of having it only be restoring health, maybe you could have done something with overheal here, but like overhealing, I don't think does anything. So I don't know. It just there's no keywords. I just think that the priest community. I haven't seen their reactions yet, but I'm just sure Tic Tac was like not like this, right? Because this is not exciting. It's what do you again? No impact on the turn it comes in. Maybe it does if there's something damaged, but now you have a conditional. Now you have a 7 mana plus there's a conditional that has to happen. Something already has to be damaged. And then maybe things kind of can domino effect a little bit, but you only have 3. I don't know. I don't see it. I'm not particularly excited about. I'm a little more excited about this one than the mage one, because the mage one is kind of just a couple random things and not a ton of things. At least this has the potential for someone to kind of maybe figure something out. Maybe there's some kind of turn 8 or turn 9 kind of like combo thingy that someone can figure out and do well with. But as of right now, I'm not seeing a lot with this. It's just, it's too awkward. It's too many conditions have to be met in order for this to be effective.
I don't think it's that conditional, because how many priests are at full health on turn 7? Like how often are you at 30 health when you're going to play this? I don't think very often.
I'm usually at 42 health because I've played the minion that if both our stats are equal to 42, then my health goes to 42. So I'm usually at 42 health.
But like you're almost never gonna be at full health on turn 7. So it's going to have an impact on the turn that you play. It's going to swing into stuff. I think the bigger question is if there's enough to make a control priest work, that doesn't just lose to the other control decks, because control priest hasn't gotten a actual win condition for the past like 2 years.
Yeah,
that's the bigger question.
And at least if it goes off once, even if you heal your face to full, then the Black Blood is probably healing itself again.
Yeah,
you're healing the Black Blood. So it'll clear the first part of the blob of tar before it dies, and then I don't know, it'll be fine.
So you also don't have to slam this down into a blob of tar or into a 9/9 dragon. Like if we're playing this in control priest, I'm guessing that we're setting ourselves up to have our options of clears, and this is a really solid clear for a smaller wide deck, or a smaller wide board. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but like I'm just like, these Colossals are supposed to be big and hugely impactful as far as my thoughts, and I'm hoping. Like I'm not trying to be super negative. I'm just like, as I'm reading these, the more I'm looking at them, the less excited I've gotten about them. And again, we haven't seen the cards.
There's also a handful of them for Sunken City that we said the same thing when they came out, and then they were played quite often once we actually had our hands on them. So
yeah, we also played Purified Priest too. That was a couple weeks.
That was before my time.
But generally,
I'm not
I just want to
responsible
say
for
that I agree with Tito here that these are not that interesting. At least these ones are just mostly stat bombs. Like we've said a few times, all the Sunken City Colossals did something interesting.
Yeah.
Not that these aren't doing nothing, but I felt like all the Sunken City Colossals were doing. They had their place, and they were pretty clear. This is what this is supposed to do. Like the mage Colossal was attack with mechs. Simple. He goes pew pew, and that was kind of fun for different reasons. And then as goofy as the warrior one was, like the flavor was definitely there. You got pirates on a turtle boat. Like these are just kind of almost too generic. Like, oh, these are bad guys coming from the cataclysm. And they're just as much as I like someone told me like, hey, Colossals are coming back, I'm like, that's awesome. I love Colossals, they're so cool. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I'm gonna play Wicker Fang and I'm gonna get a bunch of stats. Yay. Like it'll probably win games and it'll be something I build around. But it's not like playing like Hydralodon or something like that. Where you're like, yeah, we're gonna like make tons of stuff and it's really hard to kill this Hydra looking thing. I don't get the same vibes from Magma, for example. So, even though I like boards in a box and like these stat bombs and things like that, they just don't they're not the same as Ragnaros. Like the Ragnaros thing is like, yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, I got like hands of Ragnaros and I'm gonna improve them over the game. Like these ones are just a little bit more bland.
Yeah, and it's like so Ragnaros right out of the box. I'm like, wow, this is going to be big, impactful behind it. Like we're like, oh, can you play Umbra behind it? What's gonna, this is going to be so much damage, and like oh, Colossals are going to be really huge and big. And then we've kind of got these, and I'm kind of worried that we're going to get a developer's note in like 2 months that says, yeah, we didn't really want Colossus to be too good, kind of like quests and what. I don't know. Like these ones are just. After Ragnaros came out and we saw that, I'm like, yes, this is what I want to see. This is going to be fun. Maybe we're going to hate it because it's too strong or whatever like that. But I'm going to have Colossals. You're going to have Colossals. We have these kaiju's that are clashing together, and it's just like, yeah, okay. So I'm hoping there's more. We're excited for more. But as of right now, I'm kind of, I want to say I'm underwhelmed, but I'm not whelmed either. We're just kind of there.
I don't know. I guess I'm getting a very different vibe from them, but like I just in comparing the two because we had some interesting ones. That the thing is we had a lot more like rush on the previous ones that we had. Hydralodon had rush, Krakatoa had rush, but there's still plenty of like just stat bombs because no one remembers Kolak. That was just because no one played it because it was just a 6-5 and a 0-8. Oh
no, we played a lot of that. That was played in, what was it? Because we kept resummoning it, right? Yeah, we would summon it again.
Whomper Druid ran it. That was a super niche situation, Tito.
Okay.
One deck that ran it. It wasn't even that good in that deck.
I remember
playing that.
I don't think you're remembering the right card. Like Leviathan was played in all Paladin.
Yeah, Leviathan was the Paladin one. The Druid one was a shell, a 0-8 whatever, like gain armor, and you only played it in one very specific deck where you could trigger death rattles with a location. And that was like it. And it wasn't even that good. So yeah, that was definitely, it was also one where it's like, if this had one attack, it would have been like a pretty good Colossal, right? But it didn't have anything. So yeah.
Glug was a stat
bomb.
Yeah,
not all of them.
Gigafin was a board swing.
Oh yeah, Gigafin is so much crazier than any of these cards.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
And you had like choices too. Like if you killed the Gigafin, you got everything back. But then you had to like, okay, am I gonna punch through this taunt? Right? It was just like Murloc Warlock, whatever. Like the Gigafin was a really interesting card.
Yeah. So I guess my point is we had a variety of impact and lack of impact in the previous Colossals as well. So we've only seen half of them so far from this set. So I would be hesitant to write all the Colossal off as, oh, they're all going to be just the same board in a box.
Oh, and I'm not doing that either. I'm just saying that like we came out hot with Rag, and then it's been kind of like so. Have you ever watched some like back before we had all the streaming TV and it's all now like 10 episodes, you get them all at once, you can condense all the stories. TV shows used to be 22 episodes, right? And there was this one show that, and a lot of shows were like this, but there's one show in particular called Jericho. And Jericho was the small town in I think Texas or something like that. Not Texas, but it was like Oklahoma or something like that. And a nuclear war happened, and they were a town that survived. And then like there's all kinds of like we're trying to get information and all that. And then like the first like 3 episodes were super exciting. It was like, oh yes, here we go, and it's like that. And then like the next like 17 episodes were like, okay, we're farming now. We're trying to trade with our neighbors and all that. And it was still a good show, but it was so impactful at the beginning, and then you had to wait till the end to get the more impactful things. And that's kind of what this feels like to me. It's just like, yes, here we go, and now it's like, okay, here's a few others. We'll see how the Deathwings are, and I hope it's not all Deathwing because I don't want all the Deathwing Colossals to be super great, and then all the like. I would expect that the the team that doesn't have Deathwing to have stronger Colossals because the other team has Deathwing.
I'm assuming that we're getting sort of the opposite to where the non-Deathwing classes, the other legendary, is going to get some more interesting things because we saw the Hunter one improves when you play a dragon. I'm assuming we're going to get more of those types of things with the other classes because the other Colossals, if they didn't have Herald, also not super strong and crazy powerful. Rag looks really powerful because we're like, oh, we can buff these appendages and we get the extras with the Herald. But if it was an 8-mana 8/8 plus a 2/2 ones that deal 2 damage, we'd be saying about the same thing, I think, if we couldn't improve it.
Maybe.
So
we'll see. I think the order that they're releasing these could have been tweaked to build up more excitement because I haven't read the online responses to this. I've been kind of off the online review things, and I've just kind of been doing my own reactions to them and on the show and stuff. And I don't know. We'll see.
So, excuse me.
I didn't come onto the show expecting to be negative. I was like, I came on like, hey, let's talk about new cards. And it's like, as I'm looking through these again, I'm like, well,
yeah,
I'm still excited for the set.
You're being realistic, Tito.
Rage, and I feel like I've been the most positive one. I've been more positive than you have. I'm like, I see something here, but maybe it's just because I'm so tired of what we've been playing, which also I don't think helps our reactions to the cards because we're desperate for something exciting to play because there's not a lot of that right now, and these don't exactly spark that inspiration right now.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I'm normally like Rhycleaver, let's go. This is a bad card, but maybe we can do interesting things with it. And maybe I've burned myself one too many times. I don't know.
So World 8, what were you trying to say?
Just that, I think that's, these classes probably just don't have an emphasis on the Colossus, so they want to put something in. Maybe it's not as interesting as the Herald Colossus, and maybe that's just a risk they're going to run with this expansion. There have definitely been expansions in the past. You got 11 classes, right? Like, it's pretty easy for a class or two to get pretty weak sets. And, maybe the Colossus is just, it's somewhat okay, and then the set's like okay, and then unfortunately, like, some classes get the rough end of it. And I think these classes just don't have that focus on the Colossals, so we really have to see the rest of the set to make a judgment call on the class as a whole. It just, again, a little disappointing to see to be like Tito saying like, oh, I want to slam this on 7 and yeah, let's go, because these aren't it, right? They could be good, could be very solid cards, but they're not inspiring, which is the challenge.
And on top of that, like, so Hunter's been fine, right? They've had, Discover Hunter for a while, and that's been kind of interesting. Druid also has been pretty fine, like kind of niche fine, I guess, but it's been playable. and all that, but Mage hasn't really been that good. You have Protoss Mage, which people have been hanging on to. You had like Toki Mage, which is actually a well-designed deck because it's bad and people keep wanting to play it. So like you want to see Mage and Arcane Mage, which never really hit, right? Like Pylet can attest to that. He never got his dragons working. So you want to see this kind of class, like, come to the front now. It's been a little back. It's hard for the plan for that, but I'm like, it's been kind of taking a back seat. It's time for something new. And Control Priest or Priest in general, outside of, Zarimi that no one's really wanted to play besides Megasa. We made a run at it. And the stupidest deck of all time, Protoss Priest. It's not really the stupidest deck. I just really get frustrated playing against it. They haven't really had a lot either. And the Control Priests have really been like hoping for like, they got Medivh, and Medivh was kind of underwhelming because there wasn't a lot to go with it. So these are classes that I think the players that really like these classes are really kind of like, all right, this set has to hit for me. Come on. And that's also kind of my worry here. Like the Black Blood, is that really getting like Wicked Good and Tic Tac excited? I don't think so. So I don't know. Let's see what happens with the rest of the set. But I wanted these to hit a little harder.
Yeah. So for other news, a little bit quicker here. We do have a lot of more cards coming here this week. So this upcoming week on Tuesday, we get Death Knight and Demon Hunter reveals, where that will be, from my understanding of the post, it'll be on Regis Kilbin's channel with Curly Wordy, Tice, No Hands, Dose of Coffee, and Sage joining for that stream. Wednesday, we get neutral reveals on Reddit, as well as Dark Lady Cosplays thing on Hearthstone socials. Thursday, we get Druid and Rogue on Fino's channel with Tars, Lorinda, Brigitus, Zhao Ti, and developer Edward Goodwin. And Friday, we get more neutral reveals, as well as they promoted on the YouTube channel this Karazhan library that has some lore, and then is also going to include some reveals. Twitch drops start with that on Tuesday, to where there'll be a ton of packs through the Twitch drops. There's a legendary quest chain starting on Tuesday, where you get a regular and a golden pack from both Timeways and Cataclysms. And then a couple known issues that have come from the pack to kind of bring attention to. One of the cards that we discussed last week was not actually correct, apparently. So the Diamond Victor Nefarious that's in the Sequence bundle has an old version of it. And is outdated. It was buffed since they kind of put that in there, and it did not get corrected on that graphic. The old version was a 5-mana 5/5. I think that's a typo in the show notes, and it required you to hold a dragon to do the crafting. The buff version is a 4-mana 4/4 undead battlecry. Craft a custom undead dragon. If you're holding a dragon, reduce the creation's cost by 3. So that is going to be changed. It's not yet in the card library. I'm sure that once they have the updated version assets, they'll put that in the library, and then it'll make more sense. As far as some bugs, Warpgate is not working as intended. It sounds like if you use Warpgate, sometimes your opponent's minions will use up the discount, which seems not ideal, but okay for those of us not wanting to face Protoss decks as much. The Whizbang Rogue deck is missing some treasures, it sounds like. And then for Arena, they unbanned some of the cards that they had banned before, like the Infinite cards. However, they did ban Timeway Wanderer because it's not discounting the cards like it's supposed to. It's supposed to be fixed in a hotfix patch that we get this upcoming week.
All right. I'm going to go back a second, back to the Priest Colossal. So I know I said, I bet you Tic Tac and them aren't excited. So I went to Tic Tac's Twitter while you were talking, and I looked. And what he says about this is better than what I expected the Priest Colossal to be. I'd probably play this in my Control Priest removal, +9 heal, plus potential with red stuff and 1/2s need to die. Another aspect that's kind of cool is that the first 1/2 procs the 4/8 attacks and takes damage, and the second 1/2 can heal the 4/8 back instead of your face. So I don't know if that that he's excited for, or if that their expectations are so low that he's like, well, I think that this might be better than I expected to be offered. So, but he was much more positive than I was. So I will defer to the priest main.
It's also not an archetype that any of the three of us currently on the show play very often. So it's hard for us to evaluate it, but to me it seems solid for a control deck. They just haven't had any decent tools. It's better than most of what the control tools currently are, that's for sure. Not everything can be a repackaged in Corpse Explosion.
No, in fact, they try to get away from that.
Yes.
Very excited. So for the reveals, very excited for Curly. Good opportunity there. Same thing with Brigidus and Dark Lady. These all people, smaller creators that are kind of on the up and are just getting kind of noticed in what they deserve. So very excited for them. Make sure you try to support them and get out to their streams and get out to these events. It's pretty exciting. And get on Twitter. If you are a free to play player, you belong on Twitch for the next month because you're going to get a lot of free stuff.
So what's the reveal nature of this? I mean, you guys had Warshak on. He said, "I was like, they had to get me to stop talking." Like, is it supposed to be like active discussion with like the developer? Like, sometimes the reveals are like, "This is the card, and this is what you do with the card." That sounded a lot more dynamic.
I think it's supposed to be that they're like playing some of the decks and they're like having a discussion about them and talking back and forth. Like we've had them before where like Kibler would be on a thing and he'd be playing. Then it'd be like Kibler and Ben Brode and they'd be playing against one of the developers and like they'd see the new cards and go, "Oh, what's this? This is exciting!" And they see the cards for the first time. So I don't know if they're going back to a format like that or whatever like that. But it's I know I talked to Alkali, and she said that they're doing different things with the card reveals this season and that they should be interesting and fun. So I like that we're going to get initial developer conversation right off the bat, and hopefully we get some good questions. Because listen to us, we're just asking the questions like, well, what about this? What about this? Warshak and Tice and No Hands and Fino and Bridges, they're all going to ask these questions. So I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they get to interact. And so I think, to answer your question, I have no idea, but I think it's going to be kind of like a more casual environment where it's not just somebody that had the opportunity like we did to be like, "Hey, here's a new card. This is this. This is this." They can actually play it and maybe talk to the developers about it and get some feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear like if the developer was the one that was responsible for the card, right? Like, let's say like some kind of interesting Demon Hunter card, and Sage is like, "Well, I was thinking this with the card," and Curly Wordy was like, "Oh, I wouldn't have considered that, but I can see what you're saying." Like, sometimes we can get those kind of insights or how the card changed as it was developed. And hopefully I'm hoping for this like one of those oops moments where someone's like, "Well, you could do this with the card," and the developer's like, "I didn't think of that. Oh, well, I guess we'll see what happens." I don't know if that's gonna make it through, but that'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny. And Sage is the lead set developer on this one. And I believe Edward Goodwin is Gallon, and he is Final Design, I believe. So two different perspectives on these two. I don't know. I forget who else is doing some of these, but it's not always just somebody. The different roles. So we'll have different probably perspectives on how the card exists and what it does and why it changed or whatnot. So I don't know if they usually won't tell us too much about, "Hey, this used to be a 7/7 and we made it a 6/6 or whatever." They usually don't tell us that unless they have to. So I don't know. We'll see how it is.
And so by Friday, do we get all the neutrals? Is that right? Because that gives us definitely a sense of the set once we get all the neutrals.
I don't think so. So we have, because I just grabbed this week for sake of organization, we have a bunch of stuff next week with the rest of the classes, to where we have the rest of the classes are revealed next week, with Alex Smith, Nate Kaplan, and John McIntyre being the devs that are on. We do have a Hearthstone Discord reveal on the 24th and the 26th. And then there is a video on the 26th, and then there is still the final reveal stream on the 3rd with Kibler. and Korra. So I'm not sure how much is going to be spaced out and left for that final reveal stream. I don't even know if we'll get the full classes during the class reveal ones because of that.
Oh yeah, I'm
Maybe.
looking at the official site now. The last neutral is the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's probably because a lot of them won't make sense unless you see some of the other cards that have been released. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like that. Because sometimes you get the neutrals that are really just kind of like another class card, but they put it in the neutral set. Unfortunately, sometimes it ends up in Rogue, like the asteroid guy, but whatever. World 8, I meant to ask you, but I forgot before we move on. What are your thoughts on the shatter mechanic?
Oh, I actually kind of like Shatter. The 2 cards revealed, I think, are a little bit better than other people might be giving them credit for. Specifically the Paladin one. This is, you know, definitely a nice board buff, +1/+1, plus Divine Shield, everything, and then you almost never want to do that, right? You want to do the combined effect, but with the sort of low to the ground Paladin decks, generally pretty easy. Even if you peel this off the top, that you only have like 2 or 3 cards in the middle of it to play before you shatter. So this one seems definitely playable. We're losing some of the best board buffs in that sort of deck. A board of Divine Shields is really hard to clear, even right now. If you've been playing ladder recently, you might have seen some Rayla. Those boards are hard to clear. Or Libram of Faith. Like Libram of Faith, well, I mean, you're losing Crusader Order, but that into Crusader Order is brutal. Like it is so hard to clear a board of Divine Shields. So I think that card is a bit better than people are writing it off as. The supply run, a little bit harder to assess, but it is a card that tutors, right? Like if all you have are like in your deck are like the 3 sisters plus like a few other cards, like you might just want to tutor the sisters, right? Like those are all really good. So yeah, I'm gonna tutor them, and maybe I don't care too much about the +2/+2. Like that's nice if that happens, and great. But these cards tend to go in like sort of the aggressive decks that I like. A little bit expensive, right? Like we would love to see them at 3, maybe with the toned down thing. But I think they'll be maybe too powerful at 3. So interesting mechanic. I like it. The fact that it's doing something a bit different, but probably honestly a little underpowered unless the format is really low power. And but I really like the Paladin one, for example.
And the interesting thing about it is it shatters when drawn. So I think if you generate it, you don't shatter it. You just have the card with both effects. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it reads to me. So I don't know.
I have
We'll
no
see.
idea. Yeah.
We'll probably find out this week because I'm sure they're playing some shatter
Well,
cards along
it's
the way.
more relevant for like if you're talking about assessing a card, like if I put this in my deck, is it good or not? It's tough to say if a card is good if you're expecting it to be good through random generation.
Well, sure, but I'm also looking at like if it's, let's say a priest has a really good one, maybe that helps imbue priest become a thing now because you can generate it more often, and then that makes it viable or something. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's an interesting kind of approach to like if you generate shatter cards, you're probably going to be more excited to play them because they're already together in theory.
Yep.
But yeah.
So, and an hour into our short news section, I knew I should have said short news. I jinxed it when we were talking before the before the podcast. We did have a huge buff patch last week, and we've all talked about what we've kind of been playing a little bit, but this is kind of the meta that we get until we get the great unnerfing here with the 0.0 patch. So thought kind of talk a little bit about what the effects have been. The major effect has been Whizbang is very popular on HS Guru. Whizbang is at 16% popularity for all decks and is overall at a 48% win rate. It doesn't split it by class like it used to. So as far as on the meta tab, to where it showed like the hunter and the rogue and all those separately. So overall, at least it is something that is playable, and I've definitely lost to a handful of Whizbangs in the past week, including one that played Story of Umbra on turn 5 and got the Shattered Space Rock, and I died very quickly to that. Maestro Rogue has popped up with a revamped version, kind of taking some of the burn and the Garona fabled cards, and then using Maestro to change hero, and then play test and replay all your rogue cards, and that's sitting around 50%. Arcwing Mage looks like it's a legitimate deck. It's sitting at tier 1, and as an archetype on HS Guru was at like 57 or 58%. So that's gone through some good refinement. Libra Paladin is sitting right around tier 1, tier 2, right on the edge. There's been some experimentation in different Control Priest deck. Aviana and Control Priest haven't quite found the win rate as an archetype yet, but there is a archetype that's called Top Deck Priest on HS Guru, and it looks like the biggest pile of cards. It's almost a Reno deck. Like, there's only 4 cards that are duplicated, and it's at 55%. Very low sample size, but I know there was someone who had been playing it and having some success with it, and a couple other people have grabbed onto it. But it's a Control Priest that's trying to use, was it Twilight Medium that was buffed to make the top card 0, and they overplanner and try to get that big swing turn. If it's actually something, who knows? But that is an option for slower priests that's kind of popped up. And there's a deck that I forgot about that we talked about earlier, and I forget what it was. But I forgot it when I was going through. Outside of that, previous top decks are still strong. All versions of Death Knight are above 50%. Most versions of Demon Hunter are above 50%. The only exception being Octosari, because it's the Octosari DH. And it's still at like 48 or 49%. So, if you want to win, you can still play the classes that have 2 words in their names, and you're probably going to do just fine. But yeah, there's at least some other options, and people have been able to experiment with the buffs.
World 8, what are your thoughts before I get into it?
Well, I like the buffs a lot. I love how bold they were. Every class got 2 buffs. Some of them pretty low impact. Like Starship Druid. Why did that get a buff? Who knows? Even though that card was actually pretty solid already. And like CCG is kind of a crazy card now. 3 mana 4/4 with like you draw get 3 cards. Like, that's really pushing it. I mentioned that I liked emergency meeting buff, but that was like one of those buffs that I'm like, this should have just been printed at this, because the curve was always wrong on this card, and we could have had, even without the other Dry Knight buffs, like this deck could have probably existed for a little bit of the year. The Arcwing buff was probably one of the most bold ones, and you're seeing this as like a real deck, a competitive deck. I've played it, I've had fun. Libram Paladin was always just kind of on the edge. It needed the nudge. This is the nudge that it needed. So, but again, that's another buff that probably could have happened a year ago, and it would have been fine, right? Like, I've played enough Wild where Libram Paladin is a super strong deck there. Like, it is really, really good. And it's fun to play. It's a really fun deck to play when it's good like that. I saw a ton of Maestro Rogue first few days. Pretty rare to see it now, but people were really they kind of really like getting the random hero powers. I lost to more than one Rokara hitting my egg for 20 damage in the face, Tito. So you would have been satisfied to see that. Unstoppable force. I felt like karma for how many times I played. I did that to an opponent. I forget what I was bashing back then, but that was always really satisfying. But we're just seeing like a lot of different stuff. The old decks are still good, especially since they didn't nerf Elise, so there's still like a lot of Elise piles. The one big shame is that Blackhorn came into all this. So you could be playing Arcwing, you could be playing Libram, and that card comes down and then everything's deleted. So that was really weird timing for these buffs to come in, with that really impactful card that's just kind of deleting these decks. But I love that Whizbang is like tier 3-ish. People are playing with, they're having fun with it. They're losing a bit with it, but it's something that's not totally embarrassing to see. And some of the decks are super powerful. I did not expect to get so stomped by Whizbang Death Knight until like that deck rolled me over like nothing. Or like the Hunter deck. I was like, yeah, this seems kind of cool. And then they played the second Sylvanas, and I was just completely dead. So I think all these buffs were terrific. A lot of misses, but if you're doing 2 per class, they can't all be winners. But I like the buffs. Just wish they had happened sooner when we've been seeing a lot of the same decks for like 4 or 6 months now.
So I think Maestro was a little too aggressive, but I'm still fine with it. Like I'm still seeing a lot of it. So maybe it's just not up in the top 1,000 there, Mr. World 8, that you're not seeing it. But we're still seeing plenty of Maestro Rogue. But I don't care. Like as much as I'm like well, that they probably should have went to 4 mana on that, something like that. It doesn't matter. I like what they did here. Outside, I agree again with you. Blackhorn makes zero sense to me. I already can't wait for that card to rotate in 2 years. But everything they did here was good. Like even if they didn't hit, and I'm hoping what they did was, because all these cards are rotating, right? Are there any cards they buffed that aren't rotating?
No, they're all rotating.
Okay, so what I'm hoping they did was this was an experiment where not only it was kind of like a pre-Franken meta that we're getting right now, but I'm hoping what they do is they're saying, okay, these are the buffs that we wanted to make, but we were afraid to make. Let's do it in the last month and just see how impactful they are. So I'm hoping they take that information and be like, all right, maybe we can do this earlier in these next expansions because we've seen what they did, and yeah, okay, so maybe I'm hoping they just use it for kind of like a, hey, we can be more aggressive with buffs and see how it is. Because I think it's been good. I think if you have an archetype like Libram Paladin, which never hit, like you should buff it until it's at least playable. And I think any of these archetypes that you make for a set, like if you make it so, hey, Draenei Warrior could be a thing. I'm not saying make it tier 1, but like if no one's playing it and you put all this work into the cards and all that, how can you tweak it so maybe World 8 will play it or I will play it or something, just like how do you get it just enough there that's going to have people continue to try after the first couple weeks. And again, you don't want to make it so like you don't want to take Draenei Warrior and make it tier 1A and be the best thing ever to play, and everyone hates playing it because it's the same thing, but just make it enough so we can try to do things with it and try to a 48% win rate deck that people want to play is a victory. So like I hope that they're using these things as lessons and just saying, okay, we want to experiment. These were buffs that we had in the chamber a while ago. Maybe we should have done them. Let's see what they look like. And now they get the data. So we'll see. But overall, I love the concept of these buffs. And it's shaking things up a little bit. And it's been fun. It's a good way to kind of get us from the kind of doldrums of the end of the rotation to the new sets, and just something to do over these weeks. Keep us it's got most of us still engaged, except for Pylet, who has been raging and wants to not play anymore because of Blabatar.
I told you yesterday, well, it was right before our duos, they played one Blabatar out of hand that game. I killed Blabatar, I think, 8 times that game. Might have been 7. I still won, and I still tilted off the face of the planet after the game. Which, yeah, it is what it is. Whizbang has been the one that's been like the weirdest buff for me to face. Because I got blown up by the Death Knight one. I got rolled by a Shaman Whizbang also because they nailed like the perfect curve right away. Like they ticked off the overload quest in 3 turns while also summoning a full board and just ran me over because I missed on all the cards. The rest of them I've done okay against. I did get rolled by a Dragon Warrior that I thought that was doing okay, and then a 7 mana bot face got played. I'm like, oh, Yeah, that's something that they can do now. And I don't remember what all they hit, but they hit like everything that they needed and just absolutely killed me. So I got run over that game. I was surviving, and then they got the summon a 6/7 that attacks. They did a bunch of stuff with all the minis, and I just died. So, but the card got played. That's more than I could say from beforehand. I'm just surprised that Tito, you're seeing as much Maestra. I've seen Imbue still, but I haven't seen any Maestra where I'm at.
Oh, I've seen so much of it. I have seen so much of it, and I've seen it with Imbue. I've seen it with things. People are just jamming it because it's a 2-mana card that then makes. I've seen plenty of tests, like, and it's all people are running. The 4 bring it back, give you a 4/4. I see people are just trying to bounce. Everyone just wants to play test.
Yeah,
and it's a fun card. And it's rotating, right? Test is rotating.
No, Maestra is.
Yeah, the test is out of core, so
is it?
It seems weird, but it's not. Yeah, it wasn't core. It's not in core. So yes, it is rotating.
Yeah, so some people are just probably getting their last hurrahs, and I get it. I cards like that are fun, but you know, I mean, it's also going to be really good because all of a sudden now Tessa's playing chrono knives or whatever it is, and whatnot. So it has damage. It has lots of things. So I think it's all fine, but I'm seeing a lot of it.
That's fair. So last kind of thoughts here to kind of wrap up the podcast and whatnot here is, especially since we have a ton of reveals coming up the next few weeks, we won't have a main topic, but I feel like this stretch of a few weeks is always where the community kind of goes all over the place with their engagement, because we're really excited for rotation. We're really excited for new cards to come in. We're excited for cards to go away. Normally, sometimes more for the second than the first, depending on the sets that are rotating out as Tito celebrates. And I know a lot of people, myself included, find themselves in a weird spot with what to do. So how do you guys engage with the game kind of during this time? This is a time where I know a lot of people kind of explore other modes. They take a break. They keep diving in to get their last hurrah. World 8, normally, how do you spend this last month before rotation? We know that you love the great unnerfing patch, and that's one of your favorite times of each year, but what about the couple weeks trying to get there?
Oh yeah, I mean, good question. That's still 3 weeks away, right? So what do I do for the next 3 weeks? Middle of the month, I feel like I got a decent position on ladder. If I'm really smart, maybe I try and go for top 100. That's really not impossible right now. There's still like a lot of experimentation, at least for the next week. Probably not gonna. I mean, if I shoot for that goal, like I'll be able to tell within a week or two if that's realistic. So that would keep me pretty occupied. Otherwise, yeah, I probably will just have lower engagement with the game. I actually get really frustrated during reveal season, to be completely honest, because I'm like, okay, if I keep up with the reveals, I just want to play the cards, right? And I can't even. Well, with this particular reveal season, I had asked about the neutral reveals because at least you can get the class and the neutrals, and you can be like, okay, well now I can cook a deck. And with the last neutrals coming out so close to the end of reveal season, it's going to be difficult to do that. So yeah, I mean, I also play a bunch of Wild, but Wild right now is kind of it's in a pretty good place. Wild is actually always like a fairly balanced format. But there's some decks that are pretty rampant that are like tier S that you can't really do anything about. So I wouldn't say they're choking out the formats, but it's hard not to queue into Wild and be like, well, I might as well play the tier S deck. And so it's, I always try to find fun in the game. But I do tend to dip like at least the week before, like March 1st will roll around and I'll probably be very low engagement until that revert week, because like that revert week I'll probably be playing as much Hearthstone as I probably can, because it's also the Tavern Brawl week. I really wish both of those came, a week sooner, maybe the reverts like a week sooner if they don't want to finish the reveals, because that overlap is very frustrating where I want to do two things at the same time, and I've been waiting a very long time for both of them. So until then, probably just keep jamming ladder, and I'm really glad they did a big buff patch because this gives us something to do. Especially with like decks that are like arcane, like the Arcwing Mage deck actually seems like it might shake up things a bit, because it's actually got it's one of the few decks that has a favorable Demon Hunter matchup, which otherwise would have just been like, everybody would be playing that and it'd be just walls of Lavatar, but you at least have one deck that seems to have an edge over it. So long story short is, yeah, probably next week or two I'll be pretty engaged with the game and then dip out for the week or two before the 0.0 patch.
Unless you're probably pushing top 100 and you want to get those world points. I had a question for you about that, though. If you're playing in the top 100 or top 200 and people know, they're starting to see your name and they know you and they queue into your egg log, do people just concede if they know that it's going to be one of those games?
Oh, I mean, top 200, no one concedes, right? Like,
all right, that's fair.
Everybody fights tooth and nail for every win. People will play to their outs, and it's top 200 is extremely competitive. You have top level plays. You see these crazy lines that people take, and sometimes they work out. And every one game in 50 that you can win makes a big difference at those rank brackets, because most people, other than myself, are all playing the same deck, right? Which actually, caveat there, really weird when you get to top 50, because then people just play whatever they want. It's this total bizarre thing where most of top 1K is all the same decks, right? People just net deck whatever's best on Donkey, but the closer you get to like the top 100 and top 50, then all of a sudden the flip happens where people are so good, they'll play like Starship Rogue because they're that good, and it doesn't really matter too much what the rest of the deck is doing as long as they've mastered that particular deck. Is a really weird thing. I've only been up there a few times. But yeah, I might push for top 100 if I find that there's a deck that's really good, but no one's going to concede. I don't concede against Demon Hunters. It's a terrible matchup. But I'll if I can improve my win rate to close to 50-50 with my double librarians, then yeah, I'm going to push, because I feel like I found my edge.
That's fair. Pylet, do you want to go next on engagement?
You can go ahead. I feel like I've talked about mine a little bit already anyways.
All right. So I kind of, as a attempting to be a content creator and thing, I will probably spend less time playing. Well, so here's the thing. My plan is to spend less time playing and trying to make things and build content and get things onto the YouTubes. And I've been more successful for that than I have been. In fact, I've now gone through an expansion cycle where I've kind of like learned a lot and whatnot. So I'm excited to kind of go through and make some things for this expansion when I have time, because I also have real life and a job and all that. So it's been weird to balance. So my plan is usually I should focus on making content and doing that. But then I'm like, well, it's like 8:00 and I just want to play Hearthstone. So then I just fire up the stream and I play Hearthstone. So I have there's two wolves inside of me, and I'm trying to reconcile that. I have been playing a bit more things like Hades and all that, but I don't think that's indicative of the meta or the time of year. That's just because I finally decided to pick up Hades, and once you play Hades, you start playing Hades a lot. So I got back into it and I did a run, and I don't know why I decided to do it again, and I really loved it. So we've kind of got pulled back into that, and that'll last for a little while, but that has nothing to do with Hearthstone. I love Hearthstone. Like, you hear the me being kind of like, oh, I'm not excited about these cards and all that. That has nothing to do with how much I'm excited about the set and how much a lot of people out there are like, hey, if this next set bombs, I'm out or whatever like that. I'm not. I love Hearthstone. Regardless of how it is, it's fun to play. There's strategy. I'm spending this month trying to get better at the game and trying to improve and just make better plays and play better decks and I'm trying to not spend too much time trying to make weird hunter decks work, and I'm doing a little bit of that because I want to, but at the same time, I'm really just kind of focused on, getting them and winning games. So, I'm engaged. I'm not needing a break, because it's not like I'm not having fun right now. And it's not like I feel like that I'm going to be overwhelmed when the expansion gets here. I'm going to be having just as much fun. So I don't need that kind of break to recharge and whatever. And I still play other modes. I play Battlegrounds. I do duos with you. I play Battlegrounds while I'm cleaning. Like just today, I have a standing desk and I raised up the standing desk so I could stand at it. But basically, it was like I would take my turn and I'd file bills and I'd clean up and organize and take my turn. I try to avoid doing APM builds when I'm doing that. But at the same point, if I get it, I get it. And I don't know. So I know it is kind of rambling because that's what we do here at the Bread and Butter podcast. I love Hearthstone. I want to play it. I'm going to play it. Usually I play it too much and usually it's a problem because I need to be doing some other things, but I play Hearthstone anyway. So I will stay engaged and continue to do what I do.
Yeah, for me, I feel like it's dependent on the year. Like, there's been years where February has been one of my more engaged, or the February, March, whenever rotation falls, has been some of my more engaged months. Even with me having less time to play, I've still gotten in the games, just because I want that last hurrah with a deck. So I remember, I tried to get in, all my Sif Mage games when Sif was rotating, and different things like that. I had when we were in Alterac Valley, I had a couple successful homebrew decks that I'm like, I want to get these last games in because I'm winning with them, and they were fun decks I enjoyed playing. I don't feel like this is one of those metas. We'll see. I thought that I had that spark again after last month and having a huge run with the triple unholy, and then I started the month. I went to queue it up. I'm like, I don't feel like playing this anymore. I don't have a deck that overly is grabbing my attention and making me want to play a ton. Plus, I'm busy. Plus, it's just this meta is not for me. It is not a meta I enjoy. It's a meta that I find quite boring. I'm glad that other people enjoy it, but it's just not something that I've been enjoying because it just doesn't have the variety and the things that I enjoy. That doesn't mean that I don't like the game. I just don't like where we're at right now. So it might be a good time for me to take a little bit of a pause and kind of step away. And then that's also been affected by I've just about through my first full year, fully co-hosting the podcast, to where those other times that I wanted to kind of take a break, I didn't necessarily kind of drop my engagement as much, and now feels like a better time to be like, oh, I can really focus on reveals, play other games, not have any free time to play anyways because of real life stuff, and then be fresh for March and not be home for the week that the set comes out. But that's disappointment for another time. But yeah, it's for me, I do enjoy kind of taking this time to play other games. This is normally when I jump into a lot more arena and a lot more battlegrounds as well, especially if it's something where I want to stay in the client. So instead of playing 10 to 15 standard games, maybe I'll play a handful, clear my dailies, and then I jump over to battlegrounds or arena and do a few more things there, which maybe I'll get there again. But right now I've got other things that also are kind of fighting for my attention, and kind of ready for just a couple weeks of minimal engagement maybe, and that's okay because I know there's plenty of very highly engaged players that take that time. I remember Hat would talk about it all the time when he was on Coin Conceit of these couple weeks for his nice little Hearthstone vacation, just like take a break, do other things. This is what I'm going to focus on this, and now I'm fresh and ready to go, and that's okay also.
And remember, we are all highly engaged community member people that we have podcasts about the show. We are excessive about the game. So like we are not the typical people that are there. So if you log into the client to do your dailies and you're like, I really don't want to do this, don't do it. Take a break, step away. a lot of times, if you just step away for a little bit, you come back, you'll either be like, oh, I think I'm done with Hearthstone, or I'm really okay, I'm excited to be back here. What did I just get beat with? That was weird. Let me get that deck. So don't feel, if you feel like it's a chore, if it feels like you have to be there, don't be there. Do other things. Read a book, touch grass, play Hades 2, go bowling, play Lorcana, whatever. Go do other things. And it doesn't have to be just at rotation. If like you need a break, take a break. Hearthstone will always be there for you. We'll come back. We'll just continue to listen to the show, just so you kind of keep abreast of what's going on. Make sure you're still listening, and we'll keep you up to date so that when you jump in, you won't feel so lost. But take a break, relax. And if it's now, if it's 2 months from now, if it's after the first balance patch, if it's never, just do what feels right for you. That's really kind of all you got to do. So does anybody else have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I'm excited for the set. I think the big question is they've been leading to this lower power level for 2-3 years. Really, a lot of nerfs last year to stuff that came out 2 years ago, right? Like that we thought was pretty underpowered compared to the year before that. So it's been toned down, toned down, toned down. So I think the big question, right, is like, is a lower power level going to be fun? Is this what people want to do? I think it's going to appeal to some players, but my big caution is that, like I said previous on this episode, I played a whole bunch of Twist. So Twist, they explored a lot of formats, and nobody really wanted to play the almost classic format, a really slow format. I know it's Twist, but it garnered like 100 legend players. Like, it was really sad. Because you still had decks that were power outliers in a low power format. They're still going to be the best deck. And it's just kind of like a slow version of the best deck that we have right now. And honestly, those decks weren't that much more interesting. Like, the gameplay wasn't that much more compelling. Yeah, it was board based, but it was like, did you get Acolyte of Pain on 3? Like, is that the exciting moment that we really want to like hope for? Because those were honestly kind of like the games were sometimes determined like that because we were so desperate for things to do in that format. And this is not going to be like that. We still have lots of really powerful cards, stuff, all the dragons still pretty good as just like a neutral package. We still have Blavatar, stuff like that. But relative power level, they keep pushing it down. And I think we're all like, is this going to be more fun than, playing a Titan and swinging the game? Because I felt bad from the other side, but man, did it feel good to play your own Golganeth, right? And get that really satisfying turn. So we're just going to need to make sure that we, find something that's compelling to play, that you want to log in. I'm a big believer that I only log into the game when there's a deck that I want to play. I've been really fortunate that I keep finding decks like that. But it's really driven by really interesting, compelling gameplay. And if it's just kind of like, oh, I'm playing like a digital card game, chess, right? Like, I think there's more exciting things for me to do than to do that.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty much the same. Like, just we want something exciting to play. Like, you want something that you can have a big turn. And yes, it's really tricky to balance that out between both sides of the game feeling like they had fun or enough fun to want to keep playing, I guess. But when everything is feels very straight up and scripted, and the most exciting thing is Elise into I got the right location, or a blob of tar on 4, and that's the game swinging moment. That's not overly exciting compared to some other things that we could possibly be doing. So hopefully hopefully we've kind of swung some stuff the right way, and then we can kind of build off of that. But we'll find out here soon.
And that's why I gravitate towards like the weird decks, right? Like when you can do the, again, meme city forever, but like when you get the right cleaver to work, it feels awesome because like no one's expecting that. When I started playing the Burn Warrior last month or whatever the month before, like no one's expecting that. So it's not Elise on 4 into the good location to that. It's a, what are they doing? And like, why are they, oh, that's what they're doing. I had 50 health and I just died and I don't know where that came from. That's fun. That's where, and that's not going to be typical. And then once, you know, if people start playing it, people will start counting her and all that. But that's the kind of stuff I love. I love just I love when you play a card and someone has to hover over it to figure out what it is and they have to read it. And then like in their turn, you can see them hover over it and look at their cards and then hover over it again. And they're just not sure, like, do I need to kill that? I don't know. Like you play a Replicanator on 5, they're like, what am I supposed to do with this? I have no idea. So yeah, it's fun. We'll figure it out. We'll have fun. And I think the set, even though I'm kind of not super excited about a couple of the Colossals we've seen so far, I'm still very hyped about the set. I can't wait to see what we have. I'm looking forward to reveal season. I think it's gonna be really good. And I think that with just getting rid of Ziliax is going to be enough for me to be a happier person. Well, if you would like to support the show, you can do so by joining us over at patreon.com/breadandbutterhs. You get access to the raw audio early. You get access to the member channel on Discord. You get to help shape future questions. We have a new patron this week. I think Beacon.
I thought it was Beckon, so we'll say both,
Beckon?
and one of them might be right.
And we can beacon and let them kind of correct us on how we're supposed to say it. But if you'd like to help us in a non-financial way, just let people know about the show, know how we're doing, give us a 5-star review, tell people. Really, it's all we need. Tell people we have great guests on like World 8 week after week. And the more people that get to hear them, the happier we are. World 8, I didn't really think of a good question this week for you because you've been on so many times. So I'm just going to ask you, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question. What is the card that you've been the most excited to rotate out of standard ever? And what is the most exciting card you've gotten in the core set that you've ever gotten that you're like, oh, I can't believe this card's coming back?
So first question, the card that I loathed more than anything was Garrosh's Gift. I hated that card so much. It had 3 great options. It gave Warrior 4 brawls. Sometimes it could just snipe a big minion. It just had shield block. It had everything going for the Warrior. Even if that wasn't tier 1. I couldn't wait for that card to go. Bob is a close second right now. Even more so than Ziliax. Bob just infuriates me because I'm like, all right, I guess my board's frozen and it's just a pass for me. They didn't really do anything either. This feels like a waste of everybody's time, and it's kind of a good play. But there's 4 options, and you see only one of them 95% of the time. It's really not that interesting. But Garrosh's Gift is definitely way up there, just because everything was so good, and it was so frustrating because all the other gifts kind of stunk. The most excited card for core set was probably Crusader Aura or Leroy Jenkins. I was really excited to see Leroy come back. It just like kind of defined the year. Like we don't mind charge in this format, and I was like, good, because I think charge is cool. I like being able to, and I played a ton of Handbuff Paladin because of it, because I could just smack, out of nowhere 12 damage to the noggin. So to like damage from hand from a minion, I'm all about that. So probably Leroy there.
And since we already have you on the mic, where can people find you if they'd like to find you on the social medias?
The best place to find me is on Discord, World 8, all letters. I usually respond to messages. I think the Discord format changed where you have to add a friend first, but go ahead and add me. I'm always happy to talk. Hearthstone, you'll probably find me in most of the popular Discord channels. Otherwise, on Twitch, I've actually been streaming quite a bit more. World8_HS. I don't really have a schedule right now, but usually pretty late on Eastern Standard Time. Just when I feel like I've got an hour or two, I'll hop on. I'll try to engage and chat there. And then I'm not really too invested in other social medias right now.
Pylet?
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky, Pylet712. That's Pylet.
And you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and YouTube. Anywhere else, just type in titosantanahs, and I'm probably there. If I'm not, let me know. World8, do you have anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
As always, I like to promote the Vicious Syndicate podcast. You know, I get to speak my opinions, but even when I don't, I think it's a good product. It's worth hearing Zacho's opinion, and I got a chance to participate in something that I think is pretty cool and adds to the community. Want to give a shout out to my boys. They've just been real troopers. They've been cooped up for like a month now, and I know I always get I almost always give a shout out to them, but they're just a huge part of my life, and I love them, so why not?
Well, when they're older and they start going through your back catalog of podcast appearances just to kind of like remember who you are, they'll be happy to hear the shout outs. And just remember, you edit the World's Vicious Syndicate podcast. So if you need to throw opinions in there, you can just kind of like add it when you're editing. It's fine. No one's going to notice. Pylet, anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
Not overly this week. Maybe just shout out to you and the rest of the chat on your Twitch channel for putting up with my rage the past 2 days, because both times you've been streaming, I've been trying to play and have been completely tilted off the face of the planet, and letting everyone know through that vehicle.
It's great, and it's any interaction is always good interaction. It's engagement. And speaking of engagement, that's what I'm going to shout out. We have a busy month where there's a lot of creators that are getting opportunities to, promote them. Basically, it's kind of like a it's a two-way street, right? It's like we're promoting Blizzard and their new expansion, but meanwhile, they're also getting an opportunity to promote themselves. Give them support, give them love. If you don't love something, keep your mouth shut. But at the same point, it's like people are working hard and trying to get themselves out there. So the more support you can get, and even just, hey, it was awesome to see you on the thing, or, throw them likes and throw them whatever. All that stuff matters. It really matters way more than you think it does. So go ahead and support all these wonderful creators that are getting out there and getting these opportunities, especially the new ones like the Brigidus and Curly Wordy and whoever that are just kind of like, getting the opportunity to become like the next class of Hearthstone creators. The more you support them, the bigger this community grows and whatever. And I also want to shout out the creator Supergiant, whatever they're called, because Hades 2 is an awesome game. Not as good as Hades 1, but still pretty darn good. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see ya.
All right, see ya.